don't know. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's sad. They need to send him home. Let him go.
The thing I'd say about Westbrook is we are now at one of the I don't want to talk as much about the personal stuff. The basketball stuff is interesting to me because he is broken as a basketball player. He seems mentally broken because not being able to make 13-foot shots when you are Russell Westbrook, even for someone who has been a bad shooter for his entire career, he's shooting 8% from three, he's shooting 29% from the field. He's broken by all those standards. But the interesting tension that I see, the Lakers need to trade him or send him home now.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, I feel like they're done. Like, we have to accept that Brady and Rodgers, well, to be honest, they aren't playing badly as far as their skill is concerned. Like, Aaron Rodgers still has the same capability. Tom Brady still has the same capability. At least when I'm watching them play, I don't feel like they stink. Their team stink. And at this age, I don't know that there's much hope for them going forward, but there's a lot of hope, I guess, in Tampa because they're leading their division somehow, even though they're 3-4, they're number one in the division. It's harder for Rodgers in the NFC, they're both in the NFC, but it's harder for Rodgers because they're behind the Vikings. But nobody really believes in the Vikings aren't all that good either. I feel like the Vikings record is much better than they are. So I don't know. Where do you want to start on this Rodgers Brady conversation that has to be had?
We got to start with Brady. We'll get to Rodgers in a bit. And the Brady one is particularly interesting to me because their loss to the Panthers, that 21-3 loss, to me is one of the most surprising results in a regular season football game I can ever remember. And that's not hyperbole. This is a team that is trading their best players, fired their coach. I don't want to say actively trying to lose because they're not actively trying to lose, but they're starting PJ Walker, who was in the XFL 2 years ago, and they're getting blown out by everyone. And then they blow the doors off of Tom Brady and the Bucs. And I want to toss it back to you in a second, but I want to just read out how the Bucs' first 9 drives went on Sunday. Punt, 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 halftime, punt, turnover on downs, punt, field goal. This is a Tom Brady-led offense.
Yeah. I mean, they pretty much shut him out because the field goal seemed like a drop in the bucket. Like, they just did that to get on the scoreboard. Because I don't know. The field goal doesn't help you that much to me, given that they were down 14, I think, at the time. I could be wrong, but either way, they ended up losing 21-3. Not being able to stop PJ Walker led. And yeah, you made the point that they traded away Robbie Anderson, who is one of their best receivers. They traded away McCaffrey, who is probably their most explosive player. It was clear that it seemed like last week, if there was some, like, we got Matt Rule out of the building, if there was a boost from that, it was a week delayed because they lost last week to the Falcons, who have a fun team, but not a team that anybody thinks is good.
I kind of think they're good. Well coached, but we could get. I digress.
Yeah, that's another conversation. I guess what I mean is if they were gonna have a big win, they could have had it against the Falcons, and I wouldn't have been shocked.
Right.
Having it a week later, I guess Steve Wilkes needed some time to implement his new philosophy and get some malcontents out. But it's probably unfair to be talking about the demise of the Bucs more than we're talking about like the sudden surge that the Panthers gave us. But I mean, the Bucs demise is more interesting because no one thought the Panthers were worth a damn, and we don't now think that they are. Just, I don't understand. They had that big drop at the beginning that kind of felt like it set the tone, and Evans took responsibility for kind of letting everybody down, and now everyone's hanging their shoulders. But that's not enough of a reason. Figure out a way to score. Figure out a way to move the ball. And Tom Brady was hitting guys in the chest with the ball that play for the Panthers. It was just an ugly, ugly display from start to finish.
So the thing that I think we're starting to realize, and the Panthers game is the crescendo to this, is that there is no easy fix for Tampa Bay. We thought their defense was good enough to carry them. And we also thought that Gronk was going to be on the way, which maybe he will be. Maybe he will be this salve that fixes everything. But I mean, he's a great blocker. He's the greatest tight end in the history of football, but he's also a diminished player from the guy we saw in the early 2010s when he was like mind blowing. And I got to say, the thing that I'm a little bit confused by with Brady, you think he's still playing well, but the numbers don't totally bear that out. 49 attempts yesterday, 290 yards, 5.9 yards per attempt. And he didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver for more than 20 yards. He has the lowest yards per attempt since the 2002 season for Brady. And what I'm wondering is he still looks like Tom Brady. He still has the beautiful throwing mechanics. He still has control of the pocket. He still has excellent timing. But I'm wondering, is it possible that while he looks the same, there are these like incremental signs of decline that are having massive effects? We see this all the time in other sports when a guy loses a half a step, or like his jump shot slightly off, or his bat speed or racket head speed is slightly slower. It's like, he still looks like Roger Federer, but why is he framing forehands?
I think that's possible. That's not what I see though. And saying that he's playing well, this was a bad week to put that out. The week before that, I think it was a good analysis of his play. The reason why I wouldn't say that is it doesn't seem like guys are getting to his passes and breaking them up. It's not like they're late. It's not like his timing's off or his decisions are poor. It feels like something that you and I both accept to be true is that the quarterback needs a lot of help. And he's not getting help. It's the reason why I thought he was declining when he was in New England, and he left and was like, you know what? I'm fine. I just need to be surrounded by really good players, and then I'll win you a Super Bowl. And right now, he's not. The other thing you forgot or you left out as one of the solutions that we were being told, wait till their receivers get healthy. Yeah, they got healthy. Well, Evans and Godwin were out there, and it wasn't better.
And I love Godwin too. Like Godwin was when he was coming back from the ACL. He had a hamstring injury early in the season that hampered him. He's an excellent football player, and Mike Evans has been the most consistent receiver in the NFL over the last decade. That is weird to say out loud with how excellent players have been in spurts, whether it's Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, the list goes on and on, Cooper Kupp now. Evans has been the most consistent. Look at his numbers since he's been in the league. It's 1,000 yards every single season, and some of those are up in that 1,500-yard range. He is exactly what we think he's going to be. But I want to kick this can down the road a tiny bit. And I think with Tom Brady, he's 45 years old. He's really being judged at this point by team success more than anything. He holds every single important NFL record for a quarterback. And I look at the NFC. The Vikings are 5-1. The Eagles are 6-0. The Giants are 6-1. The Cowboys are 5-2. The Seahawks are 4-3. Then you've got the Rams at 3-3 and the 49. Well, can you count them out? Because I think you look at that list of teams and you'd say no, but I also look at that list of teams and I think that they are worse than the Eagles. I think they're worse than the Cowboys. I think that they're worse than the 49ers. And I would be not shocked if they're a Final Four team, but I would be pretty surprised even in a single elimination playoff if they made it through those teams, because they are such a flawed football team. Yeah. Even with Tom Brady.
All the other teams are flawed too, except for the Eagles, I guess. And the flaw for the Eagles is we haven't seen their quarterback do it in the playoffs, what he's been doing so far this season. But yeah, I find it really hard to imagine the Bucs making some big run. But I guess
let's write them off.
I'm down. Let's
write them off.
Let's
not be scared.
All right. Yeah, they're written off. Now on to the Packers. I'm ready to write them off too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, write them off. The big thing for me with the Packers is put Aaron Rodgers under center and run the ball. Like they're trying to do this shotgun running attack without a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult to have effective running attack from the shotgun unless your quarterback is talented enough to take the pitch, or a talented enough runner to take the attention of 1 to 2 defenders on every snap. And so like the teams like the Eagles and the Ravens, you can have a dominant running attack from shotgun when you got those guys at quarterback. And with Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he likes to be in the shotgun, But Matt LaFleur coming from the whole Shanahan thing, I would guess he'd prefer to have his quarterback under center and run the ball. And I think that's what they really need to do is once Devontae left, they have two great running backs. They all talked about how they're going to focus this offense around the running backs. I've never met a running back in my life that would prefer to run out of shotgun. Maybe Edgerrin James, and he probably didn't prefer it, but no one would rather run out of shotgun than in a deep dot in a single back or even I formation. Like I just do that and then build off of that. The thing that I believe is like the crux of any good unit is you have one thing that you do really well. Like you get it, you got to establish that first, and then everything else you build off of it. And they don't have the one thing that they do well. So when teams are coming in to plan for them, like it doesn't feel like you can anticipate the plan. And if you can anticipate the plan, you can anticipate the response. And it just seems like every week they're just like fishing. They're still hoping, they're still trying to figure out who they are. And I'm not put your hand in the dirt, run the ball guy, but God, they need to put their hand in the dirt and just run the ball.
Yeah. I mean, they're AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are their two best offensive players outside of Rodgers. And they've done a good job getting Aaron Jones the ball in the passing game because he's their best receiver. But I think we all had higher expectations for AJ Dillon because he's a freak. And it looked like if he was going to be an RB1, not to fantasy football it too much, everyone was just like, wow, this guy's going to be a pretty dominant goal line guy and, runner between the tackles. But what I think is interesting is the decline in Rodgers statistically as a deep passer. Like we know he's risk averse, but we also know that LaFleur was trying to get him to drive the ball down the field. And I have an insane stat for you from 538, which is, okay, of the 1,041 routes the Packers pass catchers have run so far this year, only 35 were deep outs and deep ins. No team has run fewer deep outs, and I'm going to say zero Packers receivers have ran an out of 20 yards or deeper. And that is with Aaron Rodgers, the most accurate deep passer we have ever seen with the quickest release and the best ball placement. That is insane. That shows you alone the problem with the Packers offense. That Devontae Adams, I'm shocked, but he might have been worth 4 to 6 wins. They are so bereft of talent on the outside that it is completely hampering how Aaron Rodgers can play quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the fall off too is from Devontae to these other guys is bigger than we anticipated, right? It has to be. They don't look that terrible to me. When I watch them individually,
dude, they just lost to the Commanders. They're terrible.
I know. I'm saying that the parts don't look that terrible is what I mean. So like the receivers, Romeo Dobbs, I don't think
the one who's going to make it. Yeah,
I don't think he's bad. But then you watch the games, the result is bad, and we're so quarterback focused. This defense really deserves more ridicule than anybody else. And I feel bad coming down on Jair Alexander because he's one of my favorite corners in the league right now, and he played really well, I thought, in this game, or he was in position. Except McLaurin was just like taking the ball from. It wasn't like he was getting lost in coverage. He was well covered, but this defense just is falling short week after week. And I think that's part of the problem. They're not buying them the time. The same way the Cowboys defense kind of bought their quarterback time. And they did it for Dak again this week. It's not just when they had Cooper Rush out there. They're just playing some really good defense. And it buys time and allows the quarterback to make fewer plays in the course of the game. So I don't know. We're writing both of these teams off. Neither of them are winning the Super Bowl. Watch this be the NFC Championship game, and we'll be embarrassed.
I'm not just writing them off for this year. I have legitimate questions based on age and roster construction of how these teams are going to recover while Rodgers and Brady are still, elite quarterbacks in theory. I say elite in quotations because we've just sort of roasted them. We know Rodgers just won 2 MVPs and nothing has really changed with his skill set. But it's really hard to rebuild quickly with, 38 and 45-year-old quarterbacks when the window, it might seem like it's forever. It's not. It is not forever.
I mean, Brady may not even come back next year.
We have no clue.
Like I would assume that if things don't get better, this is the last one, right? I don't know. I mean, I can't see him coming back for more of this.
Yeah. I mean, who
I
knows?
guess
Maybe he'll
I
be the
don't know what else he
49ers
would do.
QB next year.
Yeah, maybe. Or yeah, I guess maybe not in Miami because that all got ruined.
Yeah.
um, so you gave me some homework that I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that people know about. You wanted me to look into Sauce Gardner. He's outstanding. And I fell into a cornerback rabbit hole and just watched a lot of these young corners. Um, Patrick Surtain is in his second year. I think he's probably better than Sauce is right now, but
Yeah.
Sauce is better than Patrick was as a rookie. I think they're both really outstanding. And what I came away with Sauce Gardner being surprised and impressed by is he's a really tall, long armed guy who I would assume, like when you see a guy like that and people say he's good at corner, what they're really saying is he's a great press corner.
Right.
Normally, those guys that's where they make their impact. Um, he's so much more than that. Watching all of his plays and especially his best plays, they're in off coverage, they're in zone. And I think what I noticed about him, his athleticism for his size is pretty impressive, but I think I could have predicted that. What I was more surprised by is I don't know the right word for it, but like he's like his route sensitivity,
Yes.
like is he sometimes when you're playing off coverage in corner, you're watching the quarterback through the receiver. So you want to keep them all in your vision. The number two receiver, the number one receiver, and the quarterback in your vision, but you're looking at the quarterback for a 3-step drop before you then turn your focus somewhere else. He's looking at all these things, and I see little hitches and side steps and tempo changes that are exactly mirroring what's happening in front of him while he's not looking at them. And that like level of sensitivity that he keeps himself in position no matter what and anticipates things that it's just he's a very smart football player. And
Mm-hmm.
when you see a guy built like that playing at corner, you think it's all about physical, and he has the physical stuff, but I just saw how smart he was and him being able to cover the back shoulder, fade, and the deep go is like an impossible thing to do that he does. A number of the young corners do this well, where they open their body when they're running with someone, and the receiver is like full speed, head down, running straight. And he's like sidestep running so that he can get the
Mm-hmm.
back shoulder and run down and break it up. And he's able to do that too. It's just this body control and awareness to like the language. I noticed that too is when he's doing these deep runs and he's trying to prepare for the back shoulder or the deep one, is like he's reading the language of the receiver's body in a way that like I think a lot of these young kids in the league right now grew up watching football the way it was being played and have finally adjusted. It's been like this long enough for them, those corners, to make it to the league. I don't know if I'm explaining this as well as it makes sense in my head, but it felt like for so many years, every couple years, they were changing the rules on DBs, and it was making it even
Definitely.
harder
Yeah.
and harder and harder. And we were trained to do a certain thing, and then all of a sudden, oh, you can't do this anymore. Oh, you can't do this anymore. And then they like developed the back shoulder fade. It's like, oh, you can't even cover a fade the way you used to anymore. All those things happened while Sauce was playing Pop Warner, probably. And like Surtain and those guys, and they seem so comfortable with it. Me watching them play back shoulders and deep balls, like when I was playing, and there were corners who could do it, obviously, but by and large, most of us had to pick one. It's like, like once he turns his body upfield, I was running deep and I would turn and run too. And all these young guys have all these abilities that just seem like it's because they're comfortable with it and they were born in it and they lived it and they learned it and they're not learning anything new. And it's just really impressive. Like this, his ability, the sensitivity, I think is the word I'm gonna walk away with. That feels like it describes what he does. Like his particular superpower is he is just so sensitive to everything that's happening on the field and adjusts to keep himself in the best position. It's really impressive for a young guy too, a rookie.
Yeah,
it's outstanding.
So I got a couple follow-ups, and the reason Sauce popped out for me, and I wanted to hear more from you. Obviously, there are think pieces being written about him, how he's already exceeded draft expectations, which is crazy for someone who was the fourth pick in the draft. because to exceed those expectations is impressive. But the guys who normally jump out to me as a football fan are the guys you see on Red Zone, the guys who have the highlights, and that those guys aren't always the best corners. I know Trevon Diggs is improving, but like a Trevon Diggs, a Marcus Peters, someone who gets interceptions, who takes things to the house, who has great turnover luck for a period. Those are the guys who usually get hyped. Sauce is jumping up because he seems to make every big play. And you saw that when the Jets beat the Broncos yesterday. He was guarding Cortland Sutton or KJ Hamler on every single play that seemed to be in the end zone. He was there and they had to interfere with him because he's so big. His feet are so good and he's so twitchy. They had to be the physical ones where he was almost playing receiver on the ball. It's really weird to see because this is a 6'3" cornerback. And the thing I would ask to push this down the road is how much does a guy like this, who seems to be really special, really unique, how much does that change the Jets defense? Because I know we think the team overall, when you have like Zach Wilson, fool's gold right now. Their record, fool's gold. But their defense with Robert Saleh and someone like Sauce, maybe not.
Yeah. I forgot. Maybe it was 538 or it might have been PFF a few years ago. One of these analytics companies tried to determine who the most valuable or what the most valuable position is on the team. And after quarterback, it was corner. Like having a shutdown corner impacts your defense more than any other position on the defense. And I think it was also like any other position on the team, maybe. Like left tackle, obviously a number one wide receiver is up there, but I'm sure it was the number one on defense. So what that means for a player, if you can play man coverage, obviously it gives you so much more flexibility to lean a safety elsewhere. If you're in zone and you're able to like take away third down route combinations and eliminate a side of a field just to like for conversation's sake to make it easier to talk about, like, yeah, that's a huge deal. That changes the game, and it changes. I guess this goes back to the point I was making earlier for the Packers is that they don't do anything well, or you don't know what they do to build off of. When you have a player like this at corner, that's what you do well, and you can build off of that. You know, if you need a guy to go take a receiver out, a number one receiver out, if he's good enough to take that receiver out, yes, that frees up the rest of your defense to do so many other things, or even just like play them to a draw. Like you don't have to take them out altogether. They can make some plays here or there, but be good enough that I do not have to compromise my defense to protect you.
Right.
That's so big, particularly in the modern era of football where we talked about our theories. Was that last week or a week before? We talked about those theories and how important a number one receiver is to an offense. Like in this version of the NFL, I can't imagine how much relief you can have when you have a guy like that you can put on Jamar Chase and T Higgins, and he's not going to win every rep, but he's going to win enough reps that you don't have to like compromise everybody else and put yourself in bad situations. There aren't plays on your play sheet that you just have to cross out altogether.
Yeah.
Which like it's the case for a lot of teams against some of these receivers. It's like, all right, we can't do that. We just can't do that no matter the down and distance, the time of the game. We can't do that because this guy can't be covered with anybody we have on the team. So yeah, I think it's hugely valuable because there's no other position, I think, on the field that could hurt you so much, you know? So like if you have a weakness at defensive tackle, you could take a couple snaps where you aren't loading the box because worst case scenario, they get a 10-yard run, you know, or a 5-yard run. And the same is true for linebacker or even safety. It's like if your safety's mediocre, he's not giving up touchdowns. He's just like slow to run, replace, or whatever. But at corner, yeah, you can't take a down off because if they see that, they're gonna attack it. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's the value of somebody like Sauce, and he's not the only one. There are a lot of really young corners in this league that are impressive. And for every year, if you want to talk about weaknesses on any team, you normally can cite cornerback as one of those. It feels like it's becoming a strength of the league, you know, that having good corners, I don't know if it's becoming a strength, but it's more than I can ever remember. I don't know. I don't remember a time in the modern like pass heavy era where there were this many corners young and old, that I felt like were like good to great.
And that's what I was going to actually ask is like this, we talked about defenses catching up with offenses, and this is the logical one, right? If you start having cornerbacks, you can play with the receivers with the new rules. You can play 10 on 10, and that's got to be a complete game changer. So, I mean, impressive. I got to spring a small pivot topic on you because I thought about it when we were talking about Bucs and the Packers, and I want to ask you about the Cowboys really quick.
Okay.
Why aren't they the second best team in the NFC in our eyes? And why don't we like talk? Because I kind of think that they are right there with the Eagles when you actually look at it.
Who is the? I mean, I would have them as second best. Who people consider higher? The Vikings?
I don't know. I just feel like it's people just. I guess it's not. That's not the right question. People look at the NFC as the Eagles as the only good team, but Dak Prescott's back, and obviously they just beat a really collapsing Lions team. That part, but you know they're 5-2. They have an awesome defense, and they have Dak back, and their offense is going to be good.
It has to do with like confirmation bias in our prior opinions. Is we came to this season, I think most of us, myself included, thinking that the Cowboys weren't going to be any good, and it's taken some time for us to accept. And the way that they've gone about this, they haven't beaten a bunch of big name teams. It hasn't been flashy and explosive. They've been squeaking by with a bad quarterback and a great defense. I think we're slow to appreciate that for obvious reasons, but I do think that's going to change quickly. Dak didn't play great in his first game back. If he starts to play at the top of his ability, then we could consider them up there with the Eagles. I don't see anybody else because, and to be fair about it, a lot of teams that we thought were going to be better aren't good. So I don't know how much we should be crediting the Cowboys for being great or be honest about this. If the Packers were 5-2 or Tampa was 5-2, we definitely have them above the Cowboys. I don't right now because they aren't. I guess it's a stupid way to frame it, but the point is it's our preconceived notions, I think, that's holding us back from accepting the Cowboys and the fact that they haven't beaten a bunch of good teams.
Well, I agree. And I do think that I kind of think that's going to change over time. One, because the defense, I think we can all agree that's beyond preconceived notions. That's a lot better than we thought that it was going to be.
So
Gallup's back. CeeDee's out there. Dak is out there. Looks like Zeke is a little banged up, so we're going to finally see what it looks like to have a Tony Pollard-led running game, which is what everyone's wanted to see for the last 2 years. Every football nerd's been like, put Pollard out there for more snaps. But let me read you their upcoming schedule, because they're 5-2 now. They've got the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings, the Giants, the Colts, the Texans, the Jaguars, up until they play the Eagles on Christmas Eve. That's 7 highly winnable games that I think they should be favored every single one on. Like, what's the tipping point of this? I'm not saying they're going to be 12-2 at that point, but I'm also not saying that. I would not be shocked if they're 12-2 and Dak goes on this winning streak, because this team is significantly better than all of those teams that they're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at the tipping point. The Bears, they're not going to get much credit for that. Who do you say they have after the Bears? Is it the Vikings?
Packers, Vikings, Giants, Colts, Texans,
it's the
Jaguars.
Vikings game. I'll say it's the Packers and the Vikings games. Those are the ones. Once they get past that, I think we're going to be talking about them and the Eagles, and those are only 2 teams in the NFC, I think. So that's, if you wanted a tipping point, if they could win those 2 games, well, I guess 3 more in a row right now, that would do it. Because the Vikings
are fucking crazy though that the Cowboys are the team that's underrated. After all of this, after a decade of them being overrated for being completely mediocre. Sorry, not a decade, 25 years of it.
Yeah.
They're now the underrated team, the underrated and underappreciated team.
That's them. And they deserve it. They've earned it. I love them. They're so much fun. And we have to give credit to McCarthy now, which is kind of weird. But anyway, do you want to hit our bets, clean up our bets before? Because I want to do a little bit of Westbrook basketball stuff and maybe some Bryce Harper baseball. So you'll catch me up.
Well, we can clean up one bet now. We're taping this before Monday Night Football. I'm hoping we're going to win our Bears Patriots under 40.5 bet, but Chiefs -3 at the 49ers. We annihilated that bet. Bounce back spot for Mahomes. He was incredible in the second half. To be fair, though, I actually thought the 49ers were pretty interesting in that game. Like McCaffrey had a pretty limited package, and they were right in that game into the second half when Mahomes pulled away. But yeah, smart bet to always bet on Mahomes bouncing back.
10-7. Take that, Jeff Saturday. About to be 11-7 because there's no way the Bears and the Patriots go for 20 apiece, 21 apiece. That's not happening. 3 touchdowns for both of those score odds. I don't see it popping. All right, the Westbrook thing. I don't know there's much to say about it other than like I'm into sympathy mode for both Wilson and Westbrook now that I do not enjoy this. His like late game collapse or sabotage against Portland, where he went for a 2-for-1 when they had the lead and it was like 30 seconds left, and he shot a wide open jumper that like then set up a big shot for Dame, and LeBron missed the fadeaway, and it was over at that point, right? That was pretty much the way the game ended.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's sad. They need to send him home. Let him go.
The thing I'd say about Westbrook is we are now at one of the I don't want to talk as much about the personal stuff. The basketball stuff is interesting to me because he is broken as a basketball player. He seems mentally broken because not being able to make 13-foot shots when you are Russell Westbrook, even for someone who has been a bad shooter for his entire career, he's shooting 8% from three, shooting 29% from the field. He's broken by all those standards. But the interesting tension that I see, the Lakers need to trade him or send him home now. And in order to trade him, you have this limited window with LeBron and Davis. You need to get a package that can help you win and be a better team. But the tension is, one, are you going to completely give up your future when you know LeBron's going to leave in 2 years if he's not in championship contention? 2, is LeBron really someone who can carry you to a championship with a pretty good roster at this point? I'd say probably not. And 3, the trade packages are like Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, Terry Rozier, and Gordon Hayward. What are you getting out of this? The best case scenario is you're giving up your future to be like a 7 seed, a 6 seed. And that's like a really interesting tension because this is going to be bad, really bad if he's on this team moving forward.
Yeah, I hate it for him. I think Durant had the comments a little while ago about how the like ecosystem around athletes is toxic. And I think he's right to a degree. I think it's just it's just louder, like everything's louder. If you want to find the positive stuff, that's louder, negative stuff, that's louder. But the negative stuff like is more fun, honestly. Like as someone in this business, I be completely honest, it's like it's more fun to like roast somebody on Twitter than it is to be like, hey, you know what nuanced thing they did that was so cool? No, people out here for these jokes and it's a good time. But so that becomes the main kind of storyline, particularly around players like Russ and players like, I mean, even the great players like KD, like it's just around him and Harden and all that stuff. And like, I'm not gonna like try to be holier than thou and act like I don't participate in it. I'm not firing off jokes and having laughs, but like when an all-time great like this is kind of career is floundering at the end, it starts to get a little less or a lot less funny for me. And maybe I'm alone in this, but like I am no longer like I like everyone knew that the Westbrook to LA wasn't going to work. Yeah. And I enjoyed being right about it. I'm no longer there.
Well, I don't want to see the guy miserable, but I do think it's a fascinating basketball tension. That's the thing is like, and like, I
don't think the basketball tension is fascinating anymore. We knew he wasn't going to work there. We know
the answer.
He still doesn't work there.
No. We didn't know it was going to be this bad, and we didn't know it was going to get this much worse earlier this season. Like, this is a historically bad shooting team. And, yeah, you could say, oh, he's the same guy he was when he was just stat padding in Washington at the end. He's worse. He's worse. Yeah. He's mentally broken. And that's the part that I think sucks because he was this defiant, incredible player that played a unique style that didn't count out like the analytics. That probably kept him from winning championships, but it was also what made him interesting and lovable. But the thing about this is it's not fun anymore when this guy stinks, but it only matters because he's playing with LeBron on a would-be championship contender that the media anointed the championship contender. Because that's the air you breathe with LeBron James. When you play with LeBron James, your standard is, can you help the team win a championship? And he knew that signing on. We've seen that time and time again.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure being there at LeBron, and it can also be really good for your career. But from one LeBron to another, that's not even fair. That's not. I mean, I know Bryce Harper was billed as like LeBron of basketball, but he's not even close. He's had a really good career. I don't know. I guess I'm not like a heavy baseball guy. I'm aware of Bryce Harper. I'm in Washington. That makes you like a little bit more aware of him. He was supposed to be Mr. Baseball personality, and it never. I mean, he's playing really well. He's 2 MVPs, and they're playing well in the playoffs, or he's playing well in the playoffs right now. But it never really felt like it panned out to be the stars because he's not as good as these other guys.
This is what I'm going to ask you. Okay. So as I'm fascinated with the Bryce Harper thing right now, and we're not gonna bore our listeners with too much baseball, but the personality part of this is fascinating because you talked about the media ecosystem being toxic. If I asked you off the top, snap judgment, did you find Bryce Harper likable in DC?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think most people would say no. That ruined my question.
Yeah, no. I think I'm sorry. I ruined the game. Was Bryce Harper likable in DC? The answer is no. I'm a weirdo. I like those type of guys.
Yeah.
But I think you're right.
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is I was watching a Phillies. God, I get to do an anonymous name drop. I was watching a Phillies Padres game a couple days ago and talking to a major league front office person. And I actually was talking to him about Harper. Harper just smoked a double to left center field. And he turns to me, he goes, the noise around Bryce Harper is complete bullshit. He goes, he plays harder than everyone. All of his teammates like him. And all of his controversies were from age 17 to 22. Blowing a kiss at a pitcher. The clown question, bro. Getting choked by Jonathan Papelbon, who was just like a completely washed up crazy person. Even the fight with Hunter Strickland. Like, all of those things, one, aren't exceptionally bad. And two, were done when he was incredibly young. And what's interesting is this guy got drafted by Washington 1-1. He was a multi-time All-Star. He won an MVP. He got hurt a couple times. That hampered his performance. But he almost got run out of town. Nats fans didn't want him in DC. He went to Philly. People wrote him off as not being that good. He wins another MVP. He's having an all-time playoffs. He's hitting above 400. He's got 5 home runs. And nobody is paying attention to the fact that he is actually living up to expectations and being that great. You Google any list of most hated major league players, and he's right at the top after the Astros guys who cheated. And it's crazy to me because all he did was not be Babe Ruth for people to hate him.
Yeah, I mean, I think also, like, to tie to the LeBron thing, it's shocking that LeBron was like so well adjusted so early on.
Yeah.
What is much more reasonable is to kind of be an asshole at the beginning of your career after you're being told that you're the best thing to ever come to Major League Baseball. Like, it's kind of reasonable for Bryce Harper to do some annoying jerky things here or there, and we don't have any. Like, I like to think I'm a better person this year than I was last year. I like to think that I keep maturing and becoming a little bit better, and we don't give that to. I think it's also because it's an entertainment property, and we need villains and we need heroes, and if somebody gives us something to grab onto to make them a villain, we're not going to let go of that. We want to root against somebody just as much as we want to root for somebody. That's what makes the stakes matter and makes it fun.
Yeah. The crazy thing, and this is just to put a bow on it, like, Harper is almost definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's almost definitely going to be viewed by a lot of people as a disappointment. And I think if you kick this back to the LeBron of it, imagine LeBron had this career. Merely a first ballot Hall of Famer, not one of the 2 best basketball players of all time. We would have roasted him. That's insane. Yeah. A prodigy essentially living up to the hype of being a Hall of Fame caliber player.
So I know you like to mock me about carrying Kevin Durant's water, but Kevin's right. This shit is toxic. It is kind of toxic. We should accept it and try to be on the right side of this. But okay, so go ahead and say Kevin Durant is one of the best basketball players ever, and then we can become a pro Bryce Harper podcast also.
Easily one of the top 15 guys to ever play basketball. That's 15? The line I'll put him at. Yeah.
15?
is right around 15.
We don't got time. We'll save this argument for Thursday.
He's so good.
How has Domonique been lately?
Bad or good?
Let's find out. This is Roses and Thorns.
All right. Everybody's favorite Foxworth is back for Roses and Thorns. You
Stop.
are
That's not
everyone's
even
favorite.
true. Your mom is
true.
everyone's favorite Foxworth, to be clear.
Not true.
You got to bring
Not
her on
true.
here one day.
No,
Hey,
I'm
bud.
definitely not doing that. Hey, buddy.
Oh my God, that could be amazing. Let's just have a
That'd be-
family podcast. Like, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, your family, I think, is actually, I was gonna say your family's more
No.
interesting, but my family's definitely more entertaining.
Your
Between
mother
my
is
brother and my
hilarious.
mother. Yeah, they would. Yeah,
My family's not that interesting. I think his mother is everyone. I promise you. Go on vacation with her. You just start getting free drinks. They're like, oh,
that's
you're
true. We did get
so-and-so's
the free-
daughter-in-law. She's just she's amazing. Anyway,
All right.
hey bud, how was your
Hey, bud.
weekend?
It was outstanding. We had a good time.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yes, we had some kid-free
I
time,
did
which
too
was
much.
nice. You did too much. You did.
Yeah, I did do too much.
You did.
I,
So
was
Friday.
that- Go
Okay,
ahead.
you can tell me about it. It's your life.
Yeah, so Friday I went to my friend who you guys have met if you listen, DeQuell Jackson. He had like
whose,
an alumni.
whose life I care about so
Yes,
much.
that's
I
a-
love
that's a-
DeQuell Jackson.
That's an inside joke that no one gets or understands, but DeQuell will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um,
I value your life, DeQuell.
he had an event for like alumni, so it was a bunch of football playing alumni at his house. It's like a mile from my house, so it was nice to go there, be with them, and I was social, and then I went from there to a dinner downtown with some other friends. It was a lot for me in one night. I missed Avery's game, which
Yes.
sickened me, but
They
everything
almost
else was
lost,
cool.
but they won.
They did win. Yeah.
And she didn't score a goal last week, guys. And she was in her feelings about that. Right? I'm not wrong. She didn't score a goal last week, right?
Last week.
I'm right. I know I'm right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. But this week she scored a goal, but it was only on a penalty kick. And it was the most amazing thing because she kicked it literally right into the goalie's hands. Like I sent Domonique the video, and he was like, "We need to work on that." Avery will not work on it, by the way. She's not.
She doesn't care enough about soccer.
But she kicked it right into the poor goalie's hands, and it's like it just shocked the goalie that it went to her hands, and the goalie basically threw it into the net. Like she was like, and Avery was like, "Yes." I mean,
it's funny. Like it's funny that she doesn't care about soccer enough to like play in a more competitive league or enough to practice or anything,
but then she
like
cries
on the field she like feels the pressure from her team to like score when they're down or do something, and she gets so
she literally was crying during
the
the game because it seemed like they might lose, and they had yet to lose. They tied a game this season, but yet to lose. But in the end, don't worry, Talia and Riley and somebody else scored because it was 4-3. And they pulled it out. So good job, sisters.
Amina scored.
Amina scored. Amina scored the first goal. So go sisters, team effort. Go girls. They won. But he missed it because he was out socializing while I was there with 5 million children.
Too much.
But then the worst part of his socializing is he exhausted his social energy for the whole weekend.
Yeah. So the next day we had homecoming, and
Go Terps.
I like it. You use the word anxiety, which feels wrong, but also feels really right.
Yeah,
is like
feels right. Feels right.
Yeah,
It's
I
right.
think the word anxiety, I think
It's right.
for most people, at least for me, like it conjures up like nervousness. You know, like
I got some
imagine
Xanax
someone
upstairs. I'm gonna start giving you Xanax before we have to be around a lot of people.
Please don't.
I have no idea what that'll do, but I do have some upstairs.
Have you ever even taken that? You actually
No.
have Xanax. You've been
No.
prescribed it, but
Yes,
you
I've never
refuse to
taken
take
it. I wanted it like in my back pocket. We had like a rough period. I was having like panic attacks or whatever, going through some stuff. And so finally I get my prescription, but I'm better now. Like I got the prescription probably a little bit too late. And like now, and I'm happy about that. Like, no, I'm not. I do not have panic attacks.
Okay.
I'm so
Yeah,
much
you're
better.
right. You don't have panic attacks, but
I will give it to him though before I'll
Yeah.
drug him before we go out in public because
I'm good on that. I don't
You're
need
good.
nah. I mean,
No, I
so
think
I
it
was
was
just tired.
so
There's
much
just too many
Friday.
people.
Yeah, you did a lot Friday, and then we go to homecoming. We get rid of all of our children. Like so I'm ready. Normally we go to games and we have our kids, and it's like they don't. Maryland's campus is huge, so like to get between different tailgates, like some of my former friends, some of his like former football people, I volunteer there a lot. So like I go to the president's tailgate. Like, so to get between these places, you're walking like a mile.
Big time. Fancy.
I'm on the board of trustees, guys. And I had meetings last week. We always do them right before homecoming. You should have seen me. I had 3 of the terpiest outfits anyone's ever seen. I look so spirited. All the other people, I'm by far the youngest. The other people.
Hold on, time out. I feel like you don't realize how that sounds, and you would not like that person. So while you love a good theme and you love to be on theme, you don't want to hit it right on the nose. I know this about you. It's like you would not wear clothes that said Maryland on it.
So I actually do have I thought about wearing with that red and black skirt. I have a sweater that's like classic. It's like knit, it's red and in
white
black.
One with the
red.
Well,
yours is white and red. I got one from him too. Mine is black. It's red with black and it says Maryland. I did because that's like a classy approach. Like even my Maryland sweatshirts, I searched like vintage. I actually found a really good one at a Canadian thrift shop and got it, shipped from Canada. I don't just want to go to the bookstore. Like, no, he's wearing a beautiful Maryland shirt that I bought him at the bookstore on Friday. You look great, but I don't necessarily do just the straight bookstore fashions.
I don't know. Like I've as we're getting older, maybe it's just the age, but like I don't feel I've never really felt a big tie to Maryland. It started until like more recently. Like I don't know. I agree always felt like, which is, I don't know, I guess it's part of aging or whatever. I don't miss it. I don't want to be that age again or be there again. But like I feel
I could go back for a week and I would love it.
Nah. You'd hate it.
I would love it. Just 1 week. I would make a beeline for you. Is that it? Is that the right saying? I would make a beeline. That means like,
I mean, you go straight. Yeah, I don't think. I'm glad we didn't meet towards the end because it wouldn't have worked out.
Literally, guys. So like, but we met. We would see each other in passing. Like when we got engaged, you took me back to the dining hall because that's the first place you remember seeing me. The first place I remember seeing you too was the diner, but the North Campus diner. But anyway.
I thought you were dumb, so I wasn't attracted to you. I mean, I thought I was very attracted to you. I thought you were very attractive, and I was like, she's bad. And then I just assumed that you were stupid and it wouldn't be like a long-term thing. And then I found out that you're a lot smarter than me and everyone else I know. And so then we had to get married. There's no choice at that point. You know what? I told this story to somebody a couple of days ago who was asking about you and said how when I was trying to get in business school, I was studying for 6 hours a day, GMAT prep. And I remember just grinding away and you come in and check on me. We had 1 kid at a time and how are things going? And I was like, man, it's hard. And I wanted to like show you how hard it was. So I gave you a question, the hardest one I could find in the book that took me several hours to get it wrong. And you did it in like 5 minutes and got it right. And
I'm really good at test taking. I've always been good at test taking. That's all.
You're good at everything. Smart.
No, I'm good at school. I'm not good at real life. I love school though. Send me back.
I seems like you got real life figured out pretty good. You sit there in your fancy cat sweater. Between the two of us, I think.
See, look, my cat sweater. It's both got Bengals. Like Lamar, we have a Bengal cat. So I saw it last year with Year of the Tiger. So you could find a lot of clothing with cats on it, Bengals particularly, tigers. And it's also red and black and gold, which are Maryland's like flag's primary colors. Black and gold, weirdly, is actually the university's colors, but red should be one too.
I mean, it's on the flag. Black and gold is on the flag. I think all
red
that
and white
stuff
are
is.
used.
I think the flags are like a combination of a Confederate era battle flag and something else. But anyway.
I never knew that. But anyway, like literally one day, so like we'd seen each other on campus before plenty of times. And like we both, dated other people throughout our time there. He's a year older than me. So it was like spring, right when he was like going to graduate and never come back. And I walk into my apartment that I share with.
Oh, you're telling this story. You're telling this story.
And he's just sitting there. He's in my apartment. Like, what are the chances, right? But he was there to like see my roommate, I think. I don't really know. I won't speak. My roommate, who is still like one of my dear friends. Like I was in her wedding. Like I love her. She's one of my good friends. So obviously all ended up well. In the end, apparently I left. So I was like, oh, hi, bye. And then I went around the corner to Mona and Malette's apartment. My friends who were over for brunch yesterday, 2 of them. I went to their apartment. And before the night was over, somehow he got my roommate to give him my IM name. Because like even though we knew each other like in passing, we didn't have each other's contact information, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's so I mean, to be fair, if you're going to tell the people the story, the real reason, so like it was my last day on campus. I was at an awards banquet getting some stupid award, and your roommate was also getting some stupid award, and our parents were like, hey, Black successful people at Maryland going their different directions. We should put them together. So our parents gave us each other's number, and I was flying out to Denver the next day. So
No.
I
Oh,
came.
you were?
Yeah,
I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, I had to go to Denver the next day. So I came to
You had
her.
you hadn't already been drafted. When's the draft?
No, I'd already been
Yeah.
drafted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
This was I believe.
This is how
Either
little
way.
I actually knew about his life. I didn't know that then. I mean, I knew he
Either
was
way,
going to. But...
I was I only had a little bit of time left in the area. So like I went to this young lady's apartment because I was like, all right, let's see if there's anything here before I leave and like maintain this relationship. And then you walked in and
it was like,
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
did you
yeah,
hear the angels singing?
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. It was angels singing. To be
Did
real,
they
I
sing
was
like
all
I
right.
sang? Did they sing like me?
No, they were much better. But anyway, the point is, I was interested, and the roommate recognized that and was being like facetious. Like, I'll give you her instant messenger. And like, all right.
I just like say in my defense, I had left by this point. Like I would have been I actually was like, why would you give him my personal contact information? My screen name is my private information. Blah blah blah.
Whatever.
You
wanted me. Long story short, we're here. All right. We didn't get to
imagine
any roses and
if
thorns. What?
we
Imagine
weren't
if what?
though. Like I look back and I'm like, how lucky, like that I walked into my apartment and that you were there. Like I can't imagine. You think that we would have managed to somehow end up together anyway.
It was like, I mean, either way, I could be keeping you from a better life somewhere. You imagine if we wouldn't have met and you'd have met some guy who was, that's not real. Nobody's better than me. Never mind. I'm sorry. You're right. It's the best possible alternative or best possible outcome.
Like both
for
of our
either
lives would be so different.
Yeah, I would have gone to a terrible business school and been less entertaining. My kids would have been not all that bright and or attractive. It would have been so sad.
Shut up. I'm sure you would have married. He would have married someone else who was a lawyer, guys. He would have found him a lawyer somewhere.
I had a little lawyer run.
He would have been smart. Everybody that he's ever dated seriously is now an attorney, by the way. Yeah. I am. I don't practice.
I got a thing for smart and gray too, apparently. So
and gray
hair.
Oh, they don't have gray hair. Well, I don't know what one of them has, but the other one.
This is a callback. Goodness gracious! To like the last podcast that we did. Actually,
that was 2 podcasts ago. Okay, gosh.
Okay. All right. Do we have time for roses and thorns, or you want to show?
Okay. Yes, I'll just rattle a few out. You know, I honestly, other than how you got real antisocial at homecoming, like, and that's just us being different. You're an introvert. I'm an extrovert. Like, I could go out Friday and still be social Saturday. He went out Friday and did a good job. He was zapped by Saturday. So remember, I've talked about his RBF, resting face. It's like that mixed with like, I'm gonna go stand in a corner by myself, reads, I'm having an awful time, right? Like literally standing in a corner by himself. Or playing with the toddler that's there, because kids and him always do well, especially if they're not his own kids. It's like you love your own kids, but you play well with other people's kids better than with our own. But anyway, so that is a thorn but I get it. It's like a thorn with an asterisk. It's like, yeah, you're an introvert. That's just you, and that's fine. But I have a lot of roses.
Ooh,
I had some of my friends over for brunch yesterday. And I'm on Sunday, excuse me. And I picked up farmers market flowers, but then I had to like go shopping and to cook or whatever. And so I just dropped them off. He made the most beautiful floral arrangements for brunch. He is a man of many talents. He was really social and had a good time Friday. You don't, I think, give yourself enough opportunities to like have good times off of Xbox with your friends. So I really do count that as a rose that you went out with like different groups of guy friends. Cause I think friendship is so important and like having people to talk to besides me, even though obviously you love talking to me. And then the final one, and this one might be the most valuable, even though it shows that I'm like a ridiculous person or value the wrong things. I post pictures on Instagram all the time, and I go on Instagram and I see Domonique likes other people's posts, but he never likes my posts. Like, why does it? Like, he had to have seen it. It'll be like me and his children, or me and him. I get not liking on him because that might seem like, oh, I like me. Although I would like pictures that he posted of me with no problem. He liked a selfie that I posted, and it was maybe the first time he's
Yeah,
never
maybe
liked it.
Maybe.
And I posted it in the story like, oh my God, look who liked my picture with the music First Time in Forever, Elsa and Anna, or Elsa or Anna, I don't know, Frozen. But then I also thought I could do Lizzo's About Damn Time. I really love giving my IG story soundtracks. And so it was About Damn Time that you liked a picture. It was the First Time in Forever that you liked one. And I'm just grateful for that. Thank you for liking me both in person and on Instagram last week.
It feels stupid is the reason why I don't like things of yours on Instagram. It feels like that
it's
1 year
to like things your wife does.
Yeah, it is. It's like Instagram is not for me. Instagram is for other people. I live with you and we're together. Like you don't if you want to show me a picture, if you want to show me a picture, lean over and show me a picture. Those
I do that
are not for me.
I do that too.
And I tell you those are nice pictures. So like that's my reason. I just feel like an asshole on Instagram. Like, like that. I know what you look like.
But don't you feel like more of an asshole when you skip over my picture and you're liking random other people's shit and you can't like your own wife's work?
If you wanted me to see a picture, you could show it to me. Putting it on Instagram means it's no longer for me.
No. Half the time you're right next to me when I'm taking these pictures, or you're in the pictures, or you were the photographer. But it's like you purposely skip over them. Like you're like, oh, I like the picture before this that my coworker posted. Ooh, there's Ashley. Let me scroll past it. No, it wasn't. That wasn't for you either. That was not for you either.
It's for people who follow them.
Going. I like and you follow me. And I'm not suggesting that you stop because then I would be extra offended. But I just don't understand. And I don't care. Like I'm not out here trying to have a big public Instagram account and have a bunch of followers, but I really felt like when you liked that picture, I was like, wow, he liked my picture. It felt amazing. So I'm not doing it for a million other people. It's more just my personal photo album, right? But I don't get why you have to skip over the pictures. It just seems so petty of you. You know what?
All right.
That rose turned into a thorn. You're petty.
Cool. I like it. Keep that thorn. It's what makes me interesting. All right. I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too, and I wish you weren't so petty.
I wish I wasn't either, but I can't do nothing about that.
Well, you could just like my pictures, and then I'll stop calling you petty. Goodbye.
I mean, maybe it's petty to be annoyed by someone. Wrong. You're wrong. You're so mature. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, Charlie, for showing up. Sarah, Addie, Christina, you're all the best. Bye.
Listen to the Debatable Podcast. It's great. Subscribe, rate, review.
There you go. After you rate, review this one.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.